I just want to do a video on how to react to failing the driving test. Rather negative by nature, but nevertheless it's very important to have a game plan, a plan B, if you do fail the driving test. One of the things to think about is that if you do fail the driving test, you're only naturally you're going to be very disappointed, and you might be bitter and angry. You might feel you've let your family down, or your kids, or your parents, and these are all very natural reactions. You may even feel slightly frustrated or confused about the outcome of the driving test, and for that reason I want to just explain to you, give you some tips about how to deal with actually failing the driving test. So one of the things you've got to do is to be able to know the actual root cause reason for why you failed the test. It may not be as obvious as that seems, and let me just briefly explain to you that with regards to your ability to drive, there's 4 phases that you'll go through when you're learning to drive. The first is being unconsciously incompetent, which sounds rather, what it means is that there will be things that you don't even know that you don't know. You're just completely unaware that you don't even realise what's required. So you don't know about these things. You're unconsciously incompetent. And then you go on to a stage of being consciously incompetent. So now you are aware that you might be slightly deficient on certain things, like roundabouts or the legal side of things, or identifying hazards or speed signs, that kind of thing. You are aware that you have a weakness and you're working on it. The third one is where you are consciously competent. So you're doing well because you're working hard on these things, and you are actually getting results from that work. And then the last one, which is what you're aiming to achieve, is being unconsciously competent. These things are just becoming natural to you. And let me just show you this graph here, which I think will help. So basically this graph shows the stress levels and your ability to drive. So as we go through those different stages, initially your stress levels are high when you're unconsciously incompetent, and when you are consciously incompetent, your stress levels are high because you're working hard. You're having to think about all the gear changes, you're having to think about the speed and the gears, that relationship, and how much braking, and where are these hazards. This takes a lot of effort. That's why the stress levels are high there. And then as you get onto the third stage of being consciously competent, notice how things begin to start working for you. You're beginning to realise what needs to be done, and there's a rather more natural instinctive phase going on here, until in the end there, this here, when you're unconsciously competent, you've got so much experience and so much ability there that you are literally just doing things. You wouldn't even know why you're doing things, you just do them. And it's really important to know where you are on these things, and let me just give you an example about that. So let me just give an example, a practical example, where a mother rang me recently, very annoyed, very frustrated. Her son has failed about 3 or 4 tests. She was asking me, could I help at all? And she started to tell me what happened on her last test, or his last test, and he'd gone the wrong way up a one-way street, and the police were doing a search of someone in the road, and that distracted him, and various things that occurred, which according to the mother had absolutely nothing to do with her son's ability to drive. It was purely other reasons for the failing of the test. Very frustrated, very angry she was about the situation. And this is where I'm talking about with this, knowing where you are on this curve, because unconsciously incompetent, driving up a one-way street the wrong way. Now, are you spotting the signs? Do you know the legal side of things? Maybe if you were at a crossroads and somebody waves you out of the crossroads, and by doing so you don't stop at a stop line, so the junction was a stop line, the wheels don't stop, but you were responding to somebody else who was giving you priority. These are all things are you aware that you need to stop at a stop line, for example, or is it more the fact that you don't have the experience by which to be able to handle these situations when they come up? Experience of driving, the amount of hours behind this steering wheel is really key, because when you get enough hours of driving experience, you will naturally come across these situations that crop up, and you'll be able to deal with them and handle them, accommodate them. One of the key things to remember when you learn to drive is It's not necessarily just about you and how you drive, but how you accommodate other drivers as well. So just to summarise all of that, what I'm really getting at is it's very, very important to try and take the emotion out of this, as difficult as that is after a test fail, but try and take the emotion out of it. Stop thinking about how it's the examiner's fault or somebody else's fault, or this person did this and that person did that, and start thinking to yourself, where are you on that curve or of that graph there, and think to yourself, what is it? What's the root cause for the failure? Because that is imperative for you to be able to then work on. This idea that you just do a test fail, you have a test fail and then you immediately just book up another test and magically you're then going to get a pass. It does happen, don't get me wrong, occasionally that does happen, because sometimes people just go into meltdown when they're on their test, and having had that experience they don't go into meltdown again. So that can be the case, but more often than not there will be weaknesses there that you need to actually address and you need to further develop. And so pinpointing exactly where your weaknesses are is really, really key, and knowing where you are on that graph is really, really important to do. Anyway, if there's any questions at all about any of this that I've just mentioned there, very, very sort of emotional subject this, if there's anything at all that I can assist with, then don't hesitate to get in touch, either on the bottom of this video or online. Okay.